Washington, D.C. studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Analysts and observers say Zohran Mamdani's victory in the New York City mayoral race last night has upended the old political playbook. Despite being outspent by tens of millions of dollars, the Queen's Assemblyman triumphed over former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo's campaign was fueled by Wall Street donors and billionaire-backed super political action committees. Independent groups supporting Cuomo poured more than $50 million into attack ads and get-out-the-vote efforts. The largest PAC, Fix the City, spent $28 million, while Defend NYC and other pro-Cuomo committees added millions more. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg's last-minute $1.5 million boost underscored the establishment's determination to block Mamdani's rise. In contrast, Mamdani's campaign relied on small contributions, city matching funds, and an array of volunteers. His average donation was under $100, yet his message on housing, transit, and economic justice resonated across bureaus. Analysts say Mamdani's win proves that money is no longer guarantees victory in New York City politics. Cuomo's massive war chest could not match the energy of grassroots organizing and high turnout amongst younger and working-class voters. Observers say that in the city where political fortunes were long shaped by wealth, Mamdani's upset shows that people power can still overcome the power of money. A CNN exit poll shows that approximately 1 in 3 Jewish voters in New York City supported Zohran Mamdani in the mayoral election. The poll found that 33% of Jewish voters chose Mamdani, while 63% backed Andrew Cuomo. Only 3% supported Republican Curtis Sliwa. The survey's Jewish sample included approximately 710 voters, though CNN did not release details on its methodology or margin of error. New York City does not publish data on voters' religion or ethnicity, but voting patterns by neighborhoods paint a clear picture. Jewish enclaves such as Williamsburg, Crowns Heights, and Borough Park overwhelmingly went for Cuomo. In some Hasidic precincts of Borough Park, he won more than 96% of the vote. In contrast, Mamdani dominated nearby gentrified parts of Brooklyn and Queens, where progressive voters turned out in large numbers. Cuomo also carried much of Manhattan's Upper East Side and parts of Upper West Side, areas with sizable Jewish but more mixed populations. Analysts say that the results highlight deep divisions within New York's Jewish community, shaped by generational, religious, and political differences. Muslim New Yorkers celebrated late into the night after Zohran Mamdani's historic victory in the city's mayoral race, making him the first Muslim and South Asian to lead America's largest city. In Astoria and across Brooklyn, Muslim residents gathered in cafes and community centers to watch results and celebrate. One voter said, "As a Muslim, it's satisfying to see someone who represents us and stands for fairness." Many said that the moment carried emotional weight after years of post-September 11th discrimination. Faiza, a 31-year-old teacher, said Mamdani's rent freeze plan and education reforms show he's for the people. The Shia Muslim Foundation described it as an inspiring moment for American Muslims. Speaking at his victory rally, Mamdani said, "We will build a city hall where more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong. No more will New York City be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election." Observers say that for Muslims, New Yorkers, Mamdani's win was more than a political triumph. It was a moment of belonging in a city they call home. New York City's political map has changed overnight. Zohran Mamdani's landslide win not only has made him the city's first Muslim and South Asian mayor, while signaling a deep shift in urban politics. The 34-year-old received more than 1,030,000 votes. That is more than all other candidates combined, including former Governor Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Silva. His campaign struck a chord with voters frustrated by inequality and rising costs. Data shows that Mamdani's clear stance on Israel and Palestine, once seen as risky, actually strengthened his base, especially amongst younger voters and communities of color. Many analysts say this election has reshaped how national Democrats approach urban campaigns. According to the City Board of Elections, more than 2 million New Yorkers voted, the highest turnout since 1969. Observers say that America's largest city, this is more than a new mayor. It's a new direction. Muslim Democrat Ghazala Hashmi has made history in the United States. She has been elected as Virginia's new lieutenant governor, defeating Republican John Reed. Hashmi becomes the first Muslim and the first South Asian American to hold statewide office in Virginia. Her victory also opened a vacancy for her state Senate seat, which will be filled through a special election. A former educator, Hashmi began her political journey in 2019 when she won a Republican-held state Senate seat. She later became chair of the Senate Education and Health Committee, leading efforts to expand access to public education and reproductive rights. Born in Hyderabad, India, Hashmi moved to the United States at the age of 4. She earned a doctorate in American literature and spent nearly 30 years teaching before entering politics. Her success is being celebrated as a milestone for diversity in U.S. politics and a reflection of changing demographics in Virginia's electorate. The United States could be forced to shut down parts of its airspace next week if the government shutdown continues. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy issued the warning at a press briefing in Washington, saying that the situation is reaching a breaking point. He blamed the opposition for this crisis. Over 25,000 people in England are demanding Israel be banned from international football over its genocide in Gaza. Details coming up after the break. Maryland has returned a piece of sacred land in Cabin John to the descendants of a once thriving African American community. The small plot, once part of the Morning Star Tabernacle, number 88 cemetery, was taken by the state in the 1960s to build the Capitol Beltway. It may contain up to 26 unmarked graves. After 60 years, the state now has given back the cemetery to its trustees. Groups like the Friends of Moses Hall and the Maryland Sierra Club backed the move, calling it a long overdue act of justice. The cemetery's history dates to 1880, where formerly enslaved couple Robert and Sarah Gibson helped create the Gibson Grove community. They built a school for Black children and founded the Morning Star Tabernacle and the Gibson Grove African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. Researchers have found records of 131 burials between the 1880s and the 1970s. Supporters say that the return of the land is a powerful step towards preserving that legacy. Israel has again violated the Gaza ceasefire, killing 2 Palestinians in separate shootings near Israel's positions in central Gaza. The army claimed that the men crossed the ceasefire-centered yellow line and posed an imminent threat. Palestinian officials condemned the killings, calling them a clear breach of the truce. Palestinian Health Ministry said hospitals received 3 bodies and 2 wounded in the past 24 hours amid continued Israeli raids and shelling. Hamas handed over the body of an Israeli prisoner identified as Israeli-American soldier Itay Chen. Israel returned the remains of 15 Palestinians. Gaza's water supply now covers only 15% of the population's needs. Israel's genocide in Gaza has killed at least 68,000 Palestinians and wounded over 170,000 since October 2023. The Hind Rajab Foundation has achieved a breakthrough in its legal battle against the European Investment Bank, or EIB. The foundation's complaint accused the bank of complicity in Israel's war crimes and entered a formal assessment phase. In a statement on Tuesday, the foundation called it a major political and legal milestone. It said a European institution is finally being forced to confront its alleged role in funding grave violations of international law. The case centers on more than 1 billion euros in EIB investments involving Israeli entities such as Bank Leumi and Electra. Both companies are listed in a 2020 UN database for contributing to illegal Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. The Hind Rajab Foundation filed the complaint in June, urging the EIB to suspend and investigate its financial partnerships with those firms. The foundation says this is amongst the first legal actions inside the European Union targeting its financial complicity of an EU body in alleged Israeli war crimes. The EIB's internal mechanism will now determine if its conduct breached EU or international law. Tens of thousands of people in England are calling for Israel to be banned from international football. The Palestinian Solidarity Campaign delivered a petition with 25,000 signatures to the Football Association at Wembley Stadium. The group says Israel should be barred from global competitions because of its violence and war crimes in Gaza. Campaign director Louis Bacon said teams from a state accused of genocide and apartheid should not be allowed to compete. The petition also urged the Football Association to cancel Thursday's UEFA Europa League match between Aston Villa and Maccabi Tel Aviv. West Midlands police have classified the game as high risk, citing intelligence and past incidents. Authorities have announced that no way fans will be allowed at the stadium to prevent possible clashes. The growing pressure reflects rising anger across Europe over Israel's conduct in Gaza. There are renewed calls for sporting sanctions on Israel similar to those imposed on Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. Thousands of people have fled to northern Sudan as fighting intensifies in Darfur. The Sudanese Red Crescent says 7,500 displaced Sudanese civilians arrived in the city of Al-Dabba, north of Kordofan and North Darfur, after new attacks by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, backed by the United Arab Emirates. The group's Secretary General, Aida Al-Sayed Abdullah, says 150 volunteers prepared camps to host the families. They are providing food, psychological support, and basic services. She said that the Red Crescent, with help from the World Food Program, delivered food to more than 53,000 families in North Darfur. The International Organization for Migration says more than 30,000 people fled northern Kordofan and about 71,000 were displaced from Al-Fasher after the RSF takeover. Sudan's government has promised a plan to restore security and improve humanitarian access. The RSF captured Al-Fasher on October the 26th with reports of massive civilian casualties because of massacres. Fighting between the army and the RSF has continued since April 2023, killing thousands and forcing millions from their homes. A global summit to tackle hunger and poverty has opened up in Qatar's capital, Doha. Leaders, ministers, and CEOs from more than 200 countries and organizations are participating in the summit. The event marks the first meeting of the Global Alliance to Fight Hunger and Poverty, launched during the 2024 G20 Summit in Brazil. United Nations General Assembly President Anna-Lena Baerbock called hunger an unacceptable human tragedy, noting that 673 million people suffered from hunger in 2024. She warned that rising global temperatures could drive millions more into food insecurity. Brazilian Minister Wellington Dias said Brazil has lifted more than 24 million people out of hunger through inclusive social policies. Egypt's Prime Minister Mustafa Malbouli stressed that famine in Gaza due to Israel's blockade on the region shows how conflict destroys life and deepens poverty. A British university is facing backlash for allegedly caving to Chinese government pressure over research into the persecution of Uyghur Muslims. Sheffield Hallam University reportedly told Professor Laura Murphy to stop investigating China's treatment of the Uyghur. She was told to halt research after individuals linked to Chinese security agencies contacted the school. Murphy, known for her work on forced labor, has documents that reveal that the university traded academic freedom for Chinese student income. She accused Sheffield Hallam of prioritizing business interests over research integrity. The university later apologized, claiming it had acted amid complex circumstances, including insurance issues. But the controversy has now escalated into a national security investigation. South Yorkshire Police confirmed that the case falls under Section 3 of UK's National Security Act, which covers assistance to foreign intelligence services. China has long denied accusations of abuses against the Uyghur, despite reports from the United Nations and human rights groups, including Justice for All, documenting mass detentions, forced labor, and sterilizations. The case has reignited debate over China's influence on Western universities and the limits of academic freedom. A few thousand steps a day could help keep Alzheimer's disease at bay for years, according to a new study by Mass General Brigham in Boston, which was published in Nature Medicine. Researchers followed nearly 300 adults aged 50 to 90 and found those who walked at least 3,000 steps daily showed a slower decline in memory and thinking skills. People walking 5,000 to 7,500 steps a day delayed Alzheimer's symptoms by up to 7 years. The study found regular walking also slowed the building of harmful proteins in the brain, which is one of the main drivers of the disease. In contrast, those who were inactive saw faster brain changes linked to Alzheimer's. Doctors say this research shows that lifestyle changes, even small ones, can have a big effect if started early. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We're a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content if you're watching on YouTube. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.